Perfect. Okay, happy December. Oh my goodness, it is the end of the year. I missed everybody last month, and so grateful to be here and a part of this mission and vision with you guys. Those of you that are here for the first time, please say hi in the chat and let us know that you're here for the first time. So those of you that are just getting familiar with King's Counsel and Trust Family Office, we have trust and corporate services, providing wealth strategists, wealth counseling, family governance, charity and philanthropy, legacy and succession. There is so much more. I mean, there's like so much more, but that's just a little bit of a wheelhouse. And if you're here for the first time, or if you have not yet gone through our intro series that really lays the foundation of who we are and what we're about, we invite you to go to kctfo.com. And so today our agenda, we're going to just touch bases on the mission and vision. This is where we align our hearts and minds together on why we're here and what we're doing. We have a health minute with Larry, which is really powerful. If you're not a part of our newsletter, or hopefully you read the newsletter, each month we do a recap, which is really powerful in what he's teaching us and looking at. And today, Larry, I believe we are talking about digital addictions. Which I have my notepad ready for that. We have the Slight Edge Financial Update with Dale Hewett Collier. We'll be featuring a power partner. Today's topic is about family love letter. We have an upcoming, announcing an upcoming special event. We'll get into our breakout rooms and also do a quick Q&A time permitting. So here is our mission and vision. And I love this part. It's a time to pause and read it again and put in the chat what stands out for you. It's funny, as the months go on and days go on, there's certain things that I may connect to. So please, as we're quiet for a moment, maybe if there's a word or a phrase or something that stands out for you, please put it in the chat. For me this month, I have to say partner and prosper together. I love this concept of when we come together with a shared vision, not only do we get to lighten the load, but we absolutely get to prosper and grow together. So we have a quick video here. We may have a quick video here. Hold on just a second. I need to share the sound. There we go. Nope. All right, we're on to a perfect. Here we go.
Work. Most of us spend over half our lives at work. Whatever it is you fill the 9 to 5 with, planting crops, building cars, taking care of patients, teaching students, or running a business, work is where most of life happens. For some, work is a drain. They dread Monday mornings, forcing themselves to struggle through because they need the paycheck, while many times feeling trapped and beaten down by their job. Some people love their work. They're good at what they do. It energizes them. It's a place of security, a place to chase dreams, desires, and success. At work, they find fulfillment. We often forget to connect our faith to our work. We don't consider the reasons God may have us at our job. We don't think about the purpose and meaning we could bring to our work. We simply focus on how it makes us feel. But what if we saw our work as an opportunity to worship? As Christians, we are called to serve Christ with our lives. For a few, that means working as a pastor, a youth minister, or a missionary. Others serve the church by teaching children or singing in the choir. But when Sunday is over, most of us return to our jobs outside the church. For us, our mission is in the marketplace. We may not be the kind of missionary who moves to the far regions of Africa, but around the conference table, around the water cooler, around the cubicle, we have an opportunity to worship the God who created us. He gave us skill. He gave us passion. He gave us work. When we do our jobs with excellence and integrity and diligence, it's an act of worship. We are displaying God's craftsmanship to the non-believing world around us. We are earning the right to be heard. We don't see a divide between Sunday and Monday, between the sacred and the secular. We've been invited into parts of the world that a pastor or traditional missionary will never see. We have conversations with people who would never set foot in a church. Whether we love or dread our work, We choose to turn the focus away from ourselves and toward the mission God has for us. Church is not the only place we worship, and Sundays are not the only days on our calendars that have meaning. Every day on mission for God brings us great joy. Like the heroes before us, we can be modern-day Noahs and Josephs and Peters who are called with a purpose. God has designed us. He created us to work and to worship. For us, work is worship.
Alrighty, so let me do some introductions here. So Dale Hewett Collier, he is the managing director of King's Counsel and Trust Family Office. He's the visionary. Those of you that know him, it might be beautiful to send him off at the end of the year, maybe saying in a word or two how he's blessed you or a gift that he has given. For me personally, I love I feel like he's been given this gift as a financial futurist that's really been able to see a lot of what's happening now long before it happened, and that it's like he's building this ark and educating us to be sovereign and empowered and really able to navigate this with joy, with love, with confidence, and with certainty. And I have to say, one of the greatest gifts for me is helping me get my house in order, which we're going to talk a little bit more today with our family love letter. Thomas, do you want to say hi real quick?
Certainly. I appreciate y'all being here today. Give you a quick weather report here in Minnesota. Delightfully warm at probably 35 degrees. So we might not even see a white Christmas this year, but I hope you're enjoying your preparations for the coming season, wherever you're located. And thank you for your attendance today. And I don't know, is Erin here? I don't see her there. Does she have something that she wants to share? Do you want to?
No, Erin is not here today. I know that they're traveling, but oh my goodness, she has brought so much energy and life and organization and connection to King's Counsel and Trust. We also have Larry, who we'll be hearing from in a moment. Larry, did you want to say anything or wait until your health moment?
I'll wait.
Okay.
Continue on.
Okay, Larry's known as the cash flow whisperer. So, oh my goodness, he's really lighting up the numbers and how they work in a way that's important in this kingdom economy. We have Cheryl Bassett, who is also traveling with Erin. She's been excellent at really taking a lot of this vision and building that bridge in communication, as she says here, so that some of us that may not understand it can understand it a little more. And I'm Shannon Prostice. I love talking capital, building community, creating raving fans, and helping people with events like this. And Sam took that spot. Those of you that have been here before, we had your name could go here. Sam, I know we're going to hear more from you next month as a power partner, but do you want to say hi real quick? Or Thomas, do you want to introduce Sam?
Well, I'd certainly be happy to do that. Sam is my firstborn. Sam has a fairly unique background in that he spent a number of years at the University of Minnesota while he graduated in the area of degree in architecture. He's applying that skill set in terms of he's a very good puzzle person. He knows how to solve problems. He's applying that in the area of finance. He ended up working at the university, serving the math and sciences department in the grant facilitation and compliance. So he's a compliance wonk. He's a fellow who's very detail oriented. He doesn't get easily upset with people because policy is policy, and his job is to identify policy. So not only will he enforce it, he'll make recommendations for how we can improve our policy. So I'll turn it over to you, Sam, and you can share whatever else you'd like to in terms of how you came to apply your skill sets and your volunteer at this time serving the King's Counsel and Trust Family Office.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, I won't take up too much since we're going to be obviously talking next month when I'm on. But really, and what you said, looking at things as a puzzle, design to me was always, here's a problem, let's find a solution. Finance is the same thing. Technology problems, same thing. It's just what do we need to get to, and how do we get there? So I'm just happy to help out and be able to apply that, in multiple facets. So happy to have everybody here, though.
And Sam, I think I've called your dad a couple of times and said, I love your son.
No, it's so fun to work with everybody.
So if you have not connected with the covenant workbook that has been created, we invite you to go there. This really talks about the power of covenant versus contracts, really at the core and the foundation of what we do on building stronger relationships. And now I am going to turn it over to Larry, the cash flow whisperer, and he's going to be talking about digital addiction.
I'm going to start, if you don't mind, Shannon. You usually ask me to say a prayer.
Oh, I forgot. Oh my goodness, the most important thing. Thank you, Larry.
I'm
Please.
going to, just a quick story. Years ago, 30, 40 years ago, I heard this story from this reporter. He had interviewed Rose Kennedy. Rose Kennedy is the mother of John F. Kennedy, Ted Kennedy, Robert Kennedy. And as most of you know, the Kennedy family has had a lot of tragedy in it, probably more so than any one family. And the reporter asked Rose, the matriarch of the family, how do you put up? How do you tolerate? How do you go through life? And you appear so joyful, so loving, so happy. And she said, it's easy. I make a manger in my heart for Jesus. And in this season, if you can imagine a manger in your heart, imagine going through this season, and not just this season, but let's make it 2024. Put a manger in our heart for Jesus, which enables us to respond out of unconditional love, out of joy, out of peace, out of blessing others, out of gratitude and thankfulness, and tolerance for others. So my hope, our hope, prayer, and intention for this year and for especially 2024, let's all work together and support one another to see how can we make a manger, put a manger in our heart for Jesus, so that we can respond out of love versus react out of fear or anger or so forth. So that's my hope and intent and prayer for all of us this year. So with that, the emphasis we want to make for this health minute is just give you some keys to a healthy life. The context of this is that as a family, as a community together in King's Counsel and Trust Family Office, it's difficult to fulfill the God-given destiny if we're in poor health. So how can we collectively get and individually get in better health? Just a reminder, health is not just a linear situation, it's holistic. And every aspect of our lives comes into being, comes into partnership with how we treat our health. I'm not going to read this, but I'll let y'all read it. Our health minute, or a couple of minutes, is on digital addiction. And it is, in my research and study, we're all addicted one way or another to this, and it has impacts on ourselves, our lives, physically and psychologically. And we should not underestimate the role that this attention economy has on us. And it's a $7 trillion economy that's trying to grab us and hold us away from whatever we're trying to do. The solution is to use technology wisely to become the best person that we can be. There are several aspects of the digital addiction that are really prominent. The first one is tech neck. And I work with some chiropractors, and they say the biggest issue they see today is how the neck, due to the technology, especially smartphones, has put people's head neck forward and is creating all kinds of problems with the vertebrae and our structural foundation. A second is we are designed by God as electromagnetic. There's frequencies and electrochemical frequencies, and the 5G, 4G are having impacts on a lot of people, both where they're aware of it and conscious of it, and many are not conscious of the impact of the EMFs situations. And just be aware of it, be conscious of it. Here's probably one of the better books that I've read on this, is by a great author, Cal Newport, called Digital Minimalism. And I think Shannon's going to put a folder into the chat. In that folder is probably 12 to 13 or 14 resources, MP4. There's a number of book reviews to possibly help with this issue, to help you, educate you, bring you into some knowledge and some tools to help with this existing issue that we all face. So back to you, Shannon.
Here we go. I was asking if they have Digital Addiction Anonymous, if they've started any support groups for that yet, because I imagined, yeah, I know it's an impactful thing.
I started that.
You did?
Just kidding. But it's a good, it sounds like a good group to get started.
Well, and what I love about what we're doing here, Larry, and your contribution is that with awareness comes responsibility, right? And so when we become aware of these, we can start looking at it, and what we're doing in that time. And please download that library. He gave so many good stuff in there in the box. And thank you, Larry, for taking your time each month to give these wonderful contributions. All right, ready for the Slight Edge financial update, Dale?
Right on. Before we dive into that, one other thing to add, it's worth mentioning, you've often heard us refer to the concept of T3, time and talent. Those two determine your treasure principle, the third one. But why do it doesn't stop there, you see, it's like kind of steps to the ladder. If we're all going to have a greater impact, we got to take care of our temple. And I think that's really what you're speaking to, Larry. And why is that important? Because this temple allows us, to the degree that we're in good shape, allows us the ability to have an even greater impact to touch other people. There's actually two more T's, but until we get the first three right, it's really difficult to really kind of move on to the next, because we simply just don't have the right foundation. We're supposed to love ourselves first before others. So, obviously we can all be working on that. And so before we dive into, year end, I just want to reflect on, last month, Thanksgiving. What you might not know is that as of 2020, recent statistics, 730 million people live in extreme poverty worldwide. 4.7, or about 60% of the global population, actually lives below the economic empowerment line. And that means that for most, they don't have the wherewithal to meet the essential needs, not the would like to have, but the essential needs of security, of food, of shelter. And, unfortunately, 2.3 billion people lack access to adequate food. This is a problem. I mean, there's a lot of times we're talking about doing all these other things, but at the end of the day, what are we here for? Let's remember that we're supposed to have an impact and meet people where they're at. And so with that, with giving down on a 10-year trend, we've said from the not-for-profit space that if you do not adopt an earned income strategy insofar as your cash flow, meaning that you're not just depending on people's charity and handouts, but you're actually doing something with the seed that's been given to you to multiply, to help sustain the crop and for next year and beyond. I don't know that many not-for-profits, churches included, as tax-accepted organizations, have a fighting chance to meet the needs clearly of those seeking food, of shelter, or security. You know, it gets back to, you know, we've asked in previous sessions, why are we doing what we're doing? If it's not for putting his kingdom first and we're more interested in building ours, the Lord's made it pretty plain that unless we build his house, we labor in vain. There's a reason why things take twice as long and cost 3 times as much. Is because we don't have a right plan in place yet. It might have started there, but the plan's not right there, because if it's happening in the Lord's time, then it really begs the question, who are we in the waiting? The wealth factor is in the waiting. There's lots of people willing to die for what they believe, but not many are willing to wait for the fullness of the promise, for the fullness of the harvest, as the case may be. And so here we are at the end of the year. And I want to talk about the one thing that y'all can kind of reflect on in your own sense of the word, but the wealthy don't keep score in terms of income. If coming to King's Counsel is what you can get from it in terms of greater income, I would challenge you that if we want to do things like the wealthy, that we need to have another metric in terms of how we keep score, because I can assure you it's not specific numbers, it's not how much money they made, it's 2 other things that I don't hear often that it's worth reflecting on before I get to a list of 7 items here. Number 1, if income isn't the metric of how they keep score, what is? Well, let me save you the time. It's net worth. Wealth is defined really as a function of worth. It's not what you make. It's more of what you steward and what you have, and more to the point, what you do with it. And then the second thing is, for those that are truly wealthy, the other motive and the other way they keep score is their effective tax rate. So whether it's federal income tax here or some other thing, be it Africa, Canada, or some other world in terms of taxes, the other thing that wealthy people are really doing and how they keep score in terms of one year to the next are they reducing their tax base? I can assure you here in the United States, for example, paying federal income tax for most people, if you've got double-digit federal income tax liability, I'm letting you know, especially where an administration is doing away with a lot of estate and deferred and capital gains and other types of incentives, that's an option. You have an option. You don't have to do it. It says that if you do it, it has to be done a certain way. But for those that don't know that there's an option, it's called toll-free road. You know, it's kind of like whether you get on the expressway and you get there faster. Yes, it costs you money, you pay a few tolls, but no one said that you have to take that road. There's another road. Chances are there's many. So with that, year end, and we'll get to, you know, the family love letter portion a little bit later, but year end financial goals. Did you actually do what you set out to do? You know, are you making progress? Are you still the same? If you're here in terms of King's Counsel, where were you before? Where are you now? Is your situation in a better situation? How well are you doing? How are you keeping score? Number 2 is assess your expenses. You know, we are getting ready to, after this week, take a few weeks off, not to just chill out and do nothing, but to re-examine how well did we do, not just with what we did, but also with those expense areas where are they redundancies? Do we need to look at certain budgeting or spending habits, as it were? Can we be better by shifting that to something else? The other, one of the next best categories I'd like to think is maximizing your retirement contributions. I don't know if you know this, but it's often mostly under taught or not even taught at all in most church settings. And that is, while they still talk about the principle of the tithe, did you know that there's 2 others that you should be tithing to your family, that there should be a tithe to the poor and to the needy as well? I think if you're going to do the tithe, it speaks to the bigger picture of the circle inscribed in the square. that we're supposed to live within our means. If that circle goes beyond the boundaries of our plot in life, that square, we really got to get back to that second point and assess our expenses, because you see, our giving comes out of the four corners. And if a total third is not going to supply or to give back to the greenhouse and support those that are teaching us and feeding us, parents and teachers, hugely, grossly under rewarded for what they do to sowing into our children and raising them up to be productive citizenry, respectively. But that goes for the people that are praying for us as well. And you owe it to your family to be making a tithe there. Because the fact of the matter is that the savings rate, the retirement rate for most people in Western culture is in single digits. And I'm talking it's down around 2-3% tops. That's awful. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family to re-examine if there's something better out there and scratch that a little bit. With that, there are certain deductions if you are still in the tax preparation rate. There's certain contributions. That's an ever-changing thing. I'll drop a link in here before. And then in terms of tax deductions and credits, not just on the upside in terms of expenses, but also credits and qualified deductions on the other side. And one of those things is qualified charitable distributions. For example, did you know that you can give out of your IRA? Did you know that you can give on a pre-tax basis before you take it, get taxed or penalized for it, and then turn around and give that away? You can give life insurance, you can give property, you can give cars, you can give stuff, you can give your retirement if you choose on a pre-tax basis. A lot more to that, to take advantage of and offset your income elsewise. It doesn't have to clear your bank account before you can take credit for it. More on that another time. The other is, in terms of those tax strategies, is planning for the next tax season. What you just heard me say is that you have got an option. Are you going to repeat the same thing last year? Maybe you don't need to make more on the top end. It's just be smarter about what the bottom end, because again, if you're keeping score on what you make as opposed to net worth, you might want to re-examine your strategies and why that's so important, because it really gets back to who we are as stewards. It's not really ours. We're here to glorify God in all we do, for his kingdom first, and everything that would be added to us. But one of those things that goes hand in hand and is often an overlooked asset, similar to retirement planning, but in this case it's tax-free and it comes with a lot of other so-called living benefits, is whole life insurance. And if everybody's been taught, buy term and invest the difference, well, that sounds good, except that most of us don't know how to invest the difference. And I'm going to suggest that, while financial independence was a good idea, we've all been taught that the better idea is financial interdependence. And so it's not just whole life insurance. It's time to re-examine, your board, the type of insurance that you have. If you don't have, why not? If it's time to re-examine your cars, do you have more cars than you started with? Have they depreciated? Do you need to have the same coverage as you did before? What about your children? What about your health care? There's lots of different types of insurance to be looking at. And bottom line is your situation has changed. And if you're not, insurance plans, your retirement plans, et cetera, are not changing with where you at, your lifestyle and or your goals ahead, what are you doing? How do you expect them to keep up if you don't address that? We can certainly help and provide some guidance. We're not advisors in the sense anymore, as we're co-investors. We'll do it with you, but not for you. Personal responsibility is huge in this, and that requires a little bit of discipline too, and knowledge, and putting that to work, because knowledge in and of itself is not power. That's a lie. That's a book on a shelf. We've got to be able to put that in motion, you see, and it's, and it gets to then, you take all of that. So what's next in terms of the year ahead? So you've gone through all of that. You've reflected on that. You've admitted to yourself. You've repented. You've shifted. And so what's that goal for next year? If the Bible study is not working for you, I'm going to encourage you, lean into the power partner. We're not here to displace your current pastor relationship. We're not here to displace anyone's local ministry if that's where you get fed on a regular basis. We're here to supplement it, to add more to it, to have a greater impact. And one of the ways that we do that in this virtual world is leverage technology to basically allow us to reach anywhere in the world with reliable internet connection. That comes also with responsibility. AI is making a huge impact in ways that we've only begun to appreciate, but there's the other side of that coin too, is, you know, where does that go in terms of potential job displacement? I'm going to suggest that unless we become job creators, worker creators in terms of developing opportunities for others to kind of get involved, that we may find ourselves, many of us, in cash flow quadrant number 2 with a lot of letters after our name, first name, last name, ministry, first name, last name, you know, law firm, CPA firm, insurance company, financial advisor, church. You get the idea. It's good, but not the better. And so whether it is, you know, we need to save more, we've got a new home or an emergency fund, or we're budgeting for some other purchase, how we acquire those things, how we go about those things becomes really, really important. And at the end of the day, much like Larry spoke to the physical or physiology and our well-being and taking care of our temple, we owe it to ourselves to have regular adjustments and monitoring our financial health, what we'll call wealth care, in a matter of speaking. I think that is actually a trademark term. It's not ours, but it really does speak to the core of, you know, there's a lot of things that we've got to manage in our portfolio of time, talent, treasure, temple, so that we can be better about the touching, the loving our neighbor, and having a greater impact. So I invite you all, if you stay to the end, we've got a really cool tool that we're going to talk about that is actually helping guide you through some of that, as to take an inventory of what you've got and begin to ask yourself, how are you doing with all that? So with that, I'll pause and just want to drive home. Re-examine your metrics in terms of how you're keeping score and your why. Because it's not about the income. It really isn't. The wealth we have is here. It gives us greater options and tools with which, when the right opportunity shows up, we can deploy those things, you know, and watch what happens when God shows up. When 2 or more are gathered in his name, as we are here today, it's powerful stuff. And I'm excited for all of you that can go through that process and reflection this year and be thankful for the stuff that we do have. And as we're examining our hearts and our waiting, who are we? What kind of character are we when we're waiting? So I'll just pause on that and shift it back to our host, Ms. Shannon. If you could introduce our next power partner. I'm really excited about this chickie who's stepped up her game this year. Thank you. Muted again.
I love mute. Super excited to have this opportunity to introduce you guys to Michaela. Not only has she been doing video and helping with our whole video marketing and plan and setup, but she's also been really a key aspect working with Sam on some of the project management. There's so many pieces that we're working on to support the projects that are coming in and help expand the message of King's Counsel and Trust. That she's been really a backbone of dealing with people in Africa and all over the world, and bringing her brilliant brain and business knowledge to the table, and also her heart for God and Jesus and how we have that impact. So, Michaela.
Hi, thank you. That was such a nice intro. So I have been working 4, I would say, or like with KCT for about a year and a half, a little bit more than that, maybe just doing videos. But again, as Dale was saying, within the past maybe 6 months or so this year, I've been getting a lot more involved. And like Thomas and Sam, how it father and son duo, it's Shannon's my mom. So I really love that aspect of it feeling like such a family office because I get to work with my mom, which has been like very wonderful for me. But one of my favorite things about KCT and working here is I really learned what giving to give is. And I think KCT and Dale and everyone around has been a part of my testimony, even of like coming to Jesus and how God has influenced my life. So I've been so blessed to be here and to be able to help bring the kingdom economy here. And even just helping with the managing or videos, I can feel the good that's coming from it. And one of my things that I really just wanted to share that I am so grateful for is like, I'm 24 years old, kind of fresh out of college, and I can come here and I have a voice and I have impact that I can create here. And it doesn't matter what my background is. It doesn't matter. And it's for anyone. It doesn't matter if you have a business or not. Like you can come here and be influential. You can create an impact. The Holy Spirit can speak through all of us. And I think that it's just amazing that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, who you are, what your background is. You can come here and volunteer and make an impact in KCT and hopefully to the world as we keep expanding. So that's kind of just my little tidbit. And I'm just grateful to be here and to meet all of you. And it's so funny because I do edit some videos. There's so many faces here that I feel like I've never met, but I've like watched your testimonials. I know who you are. Like the first person I see is like Joshua. Like I just edited your video last week. So it is cool to finally get to introduce myself and get to meet you guys. So yeah, that's what I have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michaela. And I love working with my daughter. Okay, Dale, anything else before we turn this over to you? I am so thrilled that today this is such a perfect time to be talking about our family love letter, which truly is the most important letter we will write.
Before we begin, want to ask the question and a little bit of raise a hand or participant. By any chance, does anyone know the difference between secession and say exit strategy, secession planning or exit planning? Do we have a volunteer to take a stab?
I'll take a stab at it.
All right, stab away.
Exit strategy to me sounds like something that you began a project, an initiative, you built it up, you sold it, and you don't have anything to do with it. You just, you built it and you're getting out. Okay. Exit stage left of the whatever the cartoon character was, I don't remember it. Not the Pink Panther. Succession to me is legacy. Like you've done something, you've built something, created it, you participated in something, and it survives your direct involvement. So I think of it more in the terms of area perhaps you've set up a foundation. You've made a contribution sufficient enough that you'll affect generations to come. Whereas, so exit to me seems more selfish in nature. The succession seems others oriented to me.
Okay. Good. For the sake of time, it's obvious that the two terms are interchangeable. And I would add to that secession deals with determining the who carries on after we no longer, whether we're still alive or not. And that exit planning deals with more of the how, not so much the who, but the how we transfer the organization, the business, the charity, the ministry, what have you. And so the two go hand in hand. And Yeah, bottom line is, when Jesus began his ministry, he had 3 years to basically put his plan in place, knowing that his time was short, in capable hands, and how he did that, of course, to make sure that it would keep on going without him. Bottom line is, most of us, we all plan to get in business, but very few of us ever plan to get out. And unfortunately, for many business owners, men are usually the worst offenders here. They often exit horizontally, and that's a problem. That's a big problem, especially if they happen to graduate in the process. And that's one of the things that we're talking about today in terms of the significance of writing that family love letter while you were very much alive. And I got with our producer, Shannon, because when we first started, as a result of pandemic, for example, nobody's leaving the house. We started to ask the question, what can we do with where we're at? And with her own father passing, it left a lot of questions as to where stuff is and decisions that needed to be made in a very short amount of time. And unfortunately for most, when I had used this tool when I was back at Morgan Stanley back in the day, oftentimes I would share this list, this guideline posthumously. But in every case, the widow was there to be thankful, as to say, just to be able to take the emotion out of it, to look at what's in front and to ask the question, where is, who has, so on and so forth, about getting stuff done and making informed decisions. That's the worst time to be trying to take inventory, as it were, and especially if there's any questions to be asked of who wrote the will and what were their intentions. You see, there's a lot of other intangibles that aren't going to be on this list. And we've thought long and hard, well, we could tee it up here. It's such an exhaustive, comprehensive topic in the area of succession and exit that we developed a short course, a few hours in the new year, when everybody's thinking about New Year's resolutions in getting their house in order and so on and so forth. Shannon could speak a little bit to that in just a moment. But I want to give you an example of why, just one thing of like why that's important. Case study. In one particular case, father's committed to a long-term nursing facility, suffered from Alzheimer's. The daughter in this case was going through his papers, phone calls, trying to locate basic information about this, that, and the other thing. And after, going through the process, she still didn't know if she had everything she needed to know. And as a result of not having all the information, there was a certain life insurance policy where in the process goes to shut down bank accounts. And because the premium was automatically drafted, the policy basically came to a cancellation. And when the policy was needed, it had already lapsed, and there was a big oops. Maybe it's a simple thing is mom or dad might have a safety deposit box, and where's that key? Because you're not getting into that box without a key, and a number of other things. So again, it's one of those things that we encourage, and it's tough to do because no one really likes to talk about the morbidity of the subject matter. You see, but nevertheless, we owe it to the people that we love to communicate what's on our heart, where stuff is, who to contact, all of that information, what it is, and allow them. Here's the operative thing that a will does not do, that a trust does not do, that any other piece of paper does not do. It allows the family to come together and talk about it, so that kids, that spouse, brother, sister, heaven forbid, mother, father, you predeceased those, but it allows them to come together and ask questions. And the desire is the family gets close together And Cheryl Bassett has some tabletop discussions, to help facilitate that specifically, in terms of especially kids. Shannon can share a little bit about her own story, because I remember one of the things that stood out for me, is Michaela and Alex are asking the question. So, Mom, of all the books that you've read, what are the top 10 books that we should be reading? Because that's not on your list here. That's not in your love letter. So those good examples of there's so much more that could be included. So what we have to share is simply a guideline. And for all of our partners, we want to extend this to you as a valuable and a gift to you for planning and purposes in the new year, if you can make it. And for those that don't, you might want to think about becoming a partner, because this is just one example of how we share our content, our intellectual property with all of you, so that you can get your families, your homes, your organizations in order. And we believe it, ministry starts in the home. So with that, I could add a whole lot more, but for the sake of time, Shannon, do you want to just tee up a little bit more about what we're thinking in the new year?
Yeah, so what's really exciting about this piece is that Dale has all these great videos. Those of you that haven't looked in the box, if you're not a member, I kind of kid around and say this is a World Congress library that he's developed. And so when it comes around this family love letter, there's all kinds of links that come along with it. But what is so beautiful is to be able to go through this process and support you with this. Many of you know that we used to have a Love Your Neighbor, and we did it for about 1.5 years. And we were so surprised that after 1.5 years, how many people never completed their love letter. This is one of those difficult things. If you were like me, you don't really, it's kind of hard to talk about death. It's kind of hard to go to funerals. However, it is one of the most valuable things. And for me, the story that Dale shared was one of the most connecting things. First off, when my dad died, left it a mess. I mean, if it wasn't for, I believe the commitment to having peace in the family, it could have really created some turmoil and separation, which happens a lot after people die. And I know we don't want to leave that situation of the being unknown. And so when I went into surgery a couple of years ago, did my love letter, came together with the kids, and it was so beautiful because they asked questions I didn't even think about. I felt more confident if something was going to happen, and I know that it was really a bonding moment. And I know at KCT with some of their members, if this is something you need help with facilitating, they've also talked about being able to help with that too. So this is a 3-hour course. I'm getting ready to put in, if you're a partner, please email me and I'll drop in the email so I can give you the access code to do this, where you're going to get the whole toolbox of what this is, but we're going to take time to go through this together. So that once you register, you'll start getting your love letter. You can start pulling things together. And our intention is to really walk through this process with you so that you can end the year strong and schedule that time with your family to make sure that you're leaving that foundation there for them. And some of you may be orphans, right? You may not have family. Well, who are you going to leave things to? Maybe it's a nonprofit or somebody that you care about, somebody that's in your life. So this is really designed for everybody, no matter what your age is, and hopefully you can join us in January. Dale,
Can I add something to that, Shannon?
Yes.
I'm going to just say it a little bit differently. One of the principles of KCT is, are you ready to receive? So this family love letter is your intentions to prepare those you love to receive your blessing. You want to honor them, but you want to make sure they're prepared to receive it. That's all I had.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this is not putting together a will or a living trust. This is not a list of personal property to be disposed and to be dispersed. This is not a living will. This is not a medical power of attorney or any other limited or durable power of attorney, as the case may be. It includes all of those things. But where we pick up, where attorneys typically cannot go, accountants cannot go, financial advisors cannot go, are more of the heart and the relationship issues. And that's at the core of unfortunately, why most of us, we have, great division in this country and many other parts of the world right now. Moms and dads and their kids aren't getting along too much. There's a lot of doubt in terms of younger generation with leadership and parental hypocrisy. And it's evidence that people are searching for the answer of who am I, what is God's plan, and how do I fit into it? Our desire can be a catalyst to help unpack some of that and deal with some of those things, as uncomfortable as it may be. Most of us don't like conflict. That's at the core what's going on. And it doesn't mean that we have to agree or disagree. That's not the point. As much as it is, we don't get to have really great relationship until we deal with some of the basics. And being ready to receive, I might add, you can have a family love letter, and that's great for your family. What about an organizational love letter? This is more than just a key man life insurance policy. This is more than just errors and omissions. This is more than just, the CEO's plan to work for 3 years and then go get another job, as the case may be. We always our desire is to leave the world in a better place we found it, or our organizations, the children are supposed to go on and do more than the parents. In Jesus' words, that we're supposed to go on and do even greater things. Why is that? Because we have each other. So stop there.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So hopefully we get to see you. It's going to be a magical. I look forward to taking mine to the next level during this process also. We're at the top of the hour. Dale, I wanted to offer, if people wanted to say goodbye, that they could leave now. If they wanted to stay for the breakout room, that we do that. Are you okay with that? And I know that you have a busy schedule, but your thoughts?
I'd love to stay a little bit extra, because there's one of the things that we, this time of year, if you haven't considered, where you're already giving to your church, charity, and other, I'll just say, social impact or charitable beneficial organizations. And, Sam's a good reason why he's here today. And Michaela is a good reason why she's here today, is because, I don't know if you know this or not, but a little side thing that we do for any of you guys that have kids that are coming up, teens and into their 20s, they're asking really tough questions. And if you didn't know this enough or not, it's my heart of Secession, to sow into that next generation, because I don't know about your retirement plan. If we depend on a bunch of these other idiots that are just running for Congress or presidency or prime ministry or any other part of the world in terms of leadership, there's a huge rude awakening coming. But tomorrow's leaders today is another ministry that we have. We don't often talk about it, but I'll just drop a link of that into the chat here, so you can get a sense of, you've already heard testimonies of what a few younger people have experienced and why they're coming here. They don't have projects, but they feel like a sense of belonging wherever they are in the world. This is tomorrow's leaders today. We believe in the gift of entrepreneurship. As I said before, in terms of AI taking over, if we don't learn to shift from net consumerism to become creators in Dad's image and what his purpose and plan are, we've got a tough road to hoe. So if you don't know that about this ministry, I can attest that, you've got two younger people here today. And if you have anyone else and your grandkids or kids coming up, want to learn more about what's going on, they can fill out a contact us form as well. There are answers, and there are other younger people, men and women, here to kind of be big brothers, big sisters, not good organizations. We just have a little bit different spin on it. And so that's the only thing I have to say about that at the moment. So thank you all, and appreciate you participating today. Bye for now.
Thank you.